mentioned that, but you have to calculate square footage because they're
I'll show it to you. Okay, so we're going to get started. You got two handouts today. You got exercise 119 and assignment 105. The two go hand in hand. Actually, today, most of what we're going to be doing is to work on your assignment 105. So really with AutoCAD, a lot of learning it and getting familiar with it once you have the basic tools under your belt is just working with it and spending some time and running into problems and then asking me how to fix those problems. And there's a lot of truth to that. You just need time and practice. If I gave you too much technical instruction on it, you'd start to shut down and not remember what I told you to do anyway. So it's more useful to actually spend some time. So today in 119, it's kind of a repeat of what we did last class in terms of you're going to be drawing a floor plan. We'll add a few wrinkles so that you have a little bit more to work with. And this time, rather than just blindly following the drawing that was on the back of your handout, this time you'll actually be designing something specific. So I've gone ahead and I've pulled up exercise 119 here. And at the bottom of exercise 119 is a zip file of the assignment 105 site information. And this zip file is also available under assignment 105, but I cross-linked it here just so that you have it for a reference. And I'm going to go ahead and download it, and then we'll talk about the site specifically and where you'll be designing. So while I'm waiting for that to download and waiting for it to be ready to use, let's talk about assignment 105. So for this assignment, you're going to be designing a cabin, and that cabin exists in Yosemite Valley. Anybody been to Yosemite before? A few of you? Okay. So it's a very loaded site. It's very beautiful. It's a natural park. You could never actually build in this location, but guess what? We're going to, right? So that should be fun for you. At least that's the hope. I will show you exactly where it is as part of this. We will work with this assignment 105 both for assignment 105, which is the AutoCAD part, and assignment 106, which is the SketchUp and Photoshop collage part. So in assignment 105, we'll do mostly our work in AutoCAD, and then we'll bring it into Illustrator to do some final collage work. And then for assignment 106, you'll be working with theoretically the same cabin, though you may have learned in the process and decided to modify your design a little bit in SketchUp, and then we'll do some collaging in Photoshop. So we'll be spending a lot of time with this particular project. It's about the right size for your level and where you are in school and the technical tools that you're trying to learn right now in the first place. So in terms of the program, your clients are going to be a husband and wife. They have no children to worry about for right now. They would like in their cabin to have 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom, totaling up about 400 square feet for both bedrooms and the bathroom. They'd like a living space with a fireplace and windows that, quote, capture the site. Okay? The idea there is that you respond somehow to what the site is in some way. We're looking at about 200 square feet for that. We'd like a kitchen that is open to the living space of about 150 square feet. So it's not a gigantic kitchen. It's on the smaller side. They'd like some kind of a dining space of about the same square footage. And you have a maximum square footage of 1,000 square feet. So nothing larger than 1,000 square feet. So this is designed to be small. Okay? The temptation is always to do the giant house. I'd rather have you do smaller work that is high quality. Okay? And this works both in AutoCAD and when we move into SketchUp. I don't want you to do something too elaborate. I want to have a lot of detail on a small space. Okay? So we're going to start in part 2 with an evaluation of the site. That's going to happen today. You're going to think about the site. And then you're going to start working on your AutoCAD floor plans. Okay? We'll work on AutoCAD floor plans today. Then we'll move into elevations. And then we'll do some collaging and diagramming over the top of it, etc. So today is very much about these basic floor plans and kind of working through your particular design. So let's go ahead and take a look at the building site itself. I did download the zip file, so let me go ahead and show it in my folder here. And I'm going to go ahead and open, there's 2 files contained within the zip file. One is a KMZ file, which is a Google Earth file, and the other is an AutoCAD file. And I'll work with the AutoCAD file in just a second. But let's go ahead and open that KMZ Google Earth file. Yes, go ahead and open it in Google Earth. All right, so let's step back just a little bit so we can get some surrounding context. Okay, so this is, right down here, this is Yosemite Valley, Curry Village. If you've been to Yosemite, those of you that have been there are in there. If we were looking at some of the pictures of the valley itself, we'll see if I can load. These pictures never like to load for me. There's a picture from the valley. Let's see if we can get anything here. No, well, such is life. There we go. So this is taken from the valley looking up at Half Dome. This right here is Half Dome. Okay, so our building site is right down here in the area called Happy Isles. Okay, anybody hiked Half Dome before? No? Was it awesome? Yes, I would agree. When I did it, it was spectacular. If you were hiking it from the valley, you'd come up here, you'd go past our building site, you'd wrap around. There's a couple waterfalls in here that you'd go up. There's a waterfall. You come around here, and you'd swing around up through this valley, up through here, and you'd end up, this has nothing to do with the building site, but it's too fun, right? And you'd end up climbing up the lower shoulder, and then this is the fun part right here, where you get to go up the cables on the side. Let's see if I can find a better picture of the cables here. There we go. That's with a lot of people. So you climb up the side of the mountain here, and then you end up at the top, which is where the little cliff is, like that. And then you get adventurous, and you stand right out here and take a picture, right? Maybe not. I don't know. It's rather interesting, rather freaky. Anyway, so totally worth it, although you probably can't walk the next day. Just fair warning. Could you walk the next day? No, I couldn't. It was extremely painful. Anyway, it took about 16 hours to do it. But sorry, that's totally beside the point, but it's kind of fun, gives you some context for Yosemite. Anyway, you don't have to do all that hiking to get to our building site. Our building site's right down here in the valley. Okay? But one of the reasons that I give you this is we can spend some time actually looking at our site orientation. So if I were to flip this around so that we were down in our site, right, we have a little bit of topography here as we come down on our building site. The Merced River comes right down through here, so we have a little bit of river that's available on our site, and I'll show you that. Right now, I'm looking north. So looking out across the valley, we're looking out toward the north. Let me see if I can swing my view a little bit here. Yeah, it's not going to let me. There we go. Hold on. I don't use Google Earth that much. Just picking the wrong view. So there we go, looking out at the North Dome from our building site. Oops, let's jump down. We're down in this valley, right in there. Okay, so it gives you some context of where we are looking out toward the north. We're going to have a building site that's kind of down in a canyon. So our lighting conditions aren't going to be extreme. We're going to have light during the middle of the day, and then the sun's going to go behind the mountains on either side. So we're not going to get the big dramatic, sunrise or low-angle sun from the east or the low-angle sun from the west. Obviously, in the winter, we're going to get snow. No surprise. But we're going to have pretty spectacular views. There is a little barn here on site. We can pretend that goes away, so you don't have to worry about it. So like I said, there's the river there, and we have our little bit of a building site here. So what I've done for you to get ready for this is I've given you a piece of topography that we can, let me throw it onto the desktop here and extract it from its folder, that you guys can open up. I'm not sure why it's opening in 2016, but it doesn't really matter. They're the same. And so this piece of topography is set up so that north is straight up. Okay? These contour intervals are at 1 foot intervals. And this is really, really large, this site. So it's not that steep. the river goes right through where that little trough is, right in there, in terms of your building site. But if we, for example, were going to draw a room that was 20 feet by 20 feet, which would be 200 square feet, it's only that big. So it gives you some context of the size. So your floor plan is actually going to be rather small in context with the rest of this surrounding area. So now that I've opened this particular topo file, let me go ahead and erase this. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and do a few things to get it ready to start drawing. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to do a save as. So up here at the top, there's a disk, and then there's a disk with a little pencil on it. I'm going to click the disk with a pencil on it, and I'm going to save this file into my flash drive or onto my OneDrive, depending. And so let me put it into today's folder, which is 119. I don't even have a folder for 119. Exercise 119. We'll put it in here. And I'll call this just assignment 105. And let's add some. And I'll go ahead and click on save. Okay, so I saved it as a file for me. And now, before I actually start drawing the floor plan, I want to do one thing, and that is decide what layer I'm going to work on. And we'll spend more time with layers later on in the semester, but I at least want to introduce the concept to you right now. And that is, up here at the top, in the center of the home ribbon, there's a little thing called layer properties, a button. It looks like 3 sheets with a little dialog box next to it. If I click on that layer properties button, it will bring up my layer properties. And right now there's only 2 layers. One is topography and one is layer 0. Okay? Right now the green check is next to topography. That means if I were to draw an object, it would end up on the topography layer. Because I don't want to draw the floor plan on the topography layer, right, I have 2 choices. One, I can switch so that my active layer is layer 0, and I could do that by clicking right there, double clicking right there, and I'll move the green checkbox next to layer 0, and I could start drawing. Or I could create a brand new layer, and there's a little set of 3 pieces of paper stacked together with a little star next to it. If I click on that, it will create a new layer, and I could call that layer floor plan. For our purposes today, it doesn't matter whether you use layer 0 or whether you create a layer for floor plan. We're going to come back and revisit this layer dialog box in the future. So I'm going to double click next to floor plan, and I'll start drawing on that floor plan layer. The other thing that I want to do, for right now, I don't want to accidentally delete or move the topography. So I'm going to click the little padlock icon next to topography right there. And when I click that, you see that the topography turns gray. And if I were to try to select it, I can still select it, but if I press delete, nothing will happen. Okay? Furthermore, if I were to select it and I were to try to move it, right, let's go to move, right, again, I can't do it. So that's a good way of making sure that I'm not accidentally doing something to the topography. If the topography proves too distracting for you, right, you just don't want to see it, you can also, there's a little sun icon. If you click on the sun icon, it will go away altogether. Okay? I'm going to leave it on for the purposes of my drawing, but you can turn it off should you want to. When you're done with the layer properties, you can click the little X, and it'll go away. Okay? So at this point, I have my topography. I'm on the floor plan layer to start drawing, and I'll go ahead and start drawing my floor plan in the same manner that we did last class. Okay? I want to point out a few extra little tools that might be useful for you, depending on what you're trying to draw. Let's say that I went ahead and I drew a line. Let's go 10 feet. And I'm completely making this up. Let's go 20 feet. Let's go 10 feet. 15 feet. And let me come back to there. Okay, whatever. Okay. Now, I have a couple things happening. One, see how those 2 corners don't meet at a nice corner? Okay. I can use a command called a fillet, which is right here, the purpose of which is actually to make a radius at a corner. So if I use the fillet in its normal intentional way, it would ask me select first object or select radius. So there's radius. I could type in a value, let's say 2 feet. And it would connect this line with this line at a 2-foot arc, okay, which could be beneficial depending on what you're trying to do. But there is a trick with the fillet command in that you don't have to have a radius. If I went to fillet and I said radius equals 0, right, it will connect 2 lines together at 90 degrees. Right, we can get rid of that. So it's kind of a cheater way, especially if you have 2 lines in space. Let's say I had this line and I had this line, and I wanted those 2 lines to come together. I could use the fillet command and connect essentially that to that. Okay? It's a really cheater way of doing things. I use this all the time in CAD. So I like to point that out early because it's a trick. Okay? So that's a fillet. A chamfer, right, which I don't even know, it's probably hidden underneath fillet. Yep, there it is. Chamfer would be if we wanted, instead of a radius, if we wanted to have an angle on the corner. Okay, so it's going to ask us what is our distance, and we would specify maybe 1 foot, and then our second distance would be 1 foot, and it would clip the corner to have a little angle on the corner. Okay, so I could repeat chamfer, and I could go there to there, and I could have little angles on the corner. Okay, if I offset these, let me do a quick offset. Let's do a distance of 6 inches. Right? I could use my chamfer again, and I could connect this to this, and I could chamfer this to this, and you can see that it goes around the corner. Okay? Notice, though, that the distance is a little bit different. Okay? So if you want to maintain the distance of 6 inches, we would need to offset 6 inches this line right here, and then we could do a fillet with a radius of 0 to connect that and that and that and that. And then the distances are consistent. Okay? Again, it's not totally critical, but I'm just trying to point out certain ideas. We talked about mirror last class. Rotate in AutoCAD works similar to how you would think it would work. If I were to select my object and I were to go to rotate, it will ask me to specify a base point. So I could rotate around this point. And then I can specify a value in degrees. Right? Degrees go positive in this direction. So if I went, say, 45 degrees, it would rotate from 0 here up to 45. So if I typed in 45, for example, it would rotate to there. Okay? You can do a negative rotation. So I could take the same object, I could rotate from the same point, and I could go down, so negative 45, for example, and that would get me there. The other option, but this involves too much math for me, I would rather do negative 45. If I were doing rotate, right, I could say, okay, well, that's 45, right, that's 90, this is 135. You could keep going, and it would end, if I wanted it to be to there, what would that be? It would be 360 minus 45, so it would be 325, if I did the math right. So 325 or 315, I don't know. You get the idea, right? But it's too much math for me, so I just do negative 45. Okay? So that's how rotations work, should you want to rotate. Mirrors we did last time. We take our object, we use mirror. It asks you for specify the point of a mirror line. We could say I want to mirror from here to there, and it'll make a copy of my object. Notice that it also prompts me, do you want to delete the original, or do you want to keep the original? So I can choose yes, keep the original, or yes, erase the objects, or no, don't erase the original objects. So if yes, it would get rid of that half for me. Okay? So I want you to concentrate today on drawing out a floor plan and thinking about it. I had a question already this morning about, well, how do I check what the square footage of a particular shape is in AutoCAD? The good news is AutoCAD has a bunch of measuring tools that can help you calculate square footage. You can just use right up here under Utilities, there's a measure tool. This measure tool will only give you a distance. So I could say, wait a minute, how far is it from here to here? And you can see, oh, there it is, 14'6". Okay? But I can also measure area by clicking on the little triangle below the measure tool, and you'll see that there is an area calculation. And with the area calculation, I follow around my shape, and it kind of highlights it in green as I go around my object. And when I'm done, I press enter, and I'll get that this is 64,886 square inches. Well, that doesn't really help us much. How about 450.599 square feet? That's pretty close. Okay? So this is much faster than trying to do math of adding up rectangles or whatever. Okay? Go ahead and use that measure tool to double check your square footage. Am I going to, for your assignment 105, go in and measure your square footage? No. Okay? So if you're 900 square feet or if you're 1,100 square feet, you're probably fine. Okay? Believe me, I can tell the difference between 1,000 square feet and 2,000 square feet. So I have an idea of how big this should be. Okay? So if it's too big, then we're going to shrink it down a little bit. Okay? But you want to be in the ballpark. I also, if you want to have exterior space, if you want to have decks, or you want to have patios, or you want to have courtyards or anything else, that's exempt from this 1,000 square feet. So you can have some exterior space, and that's fine. And you could have a lot of exterior space. That's okay too. Okay? But generally speaking, we're looking for about 1,000 square feet in total size. All right? I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I want to tell you right now. I don't think so. I'm just going through. No, I think this is enough for you guys to start on today. If you have questions, like I said before, part of AutoCAD is experience. Part of AutoCAD is practice. So start practicing. See how it goes. If you run into a snag or you want to do something and you can't figure out how to do it, let me know, and I'm happy to help walk you through how to do it. Okay? Any questions about assignment 105? Make sense? Remember, your assignment 104s are due on Wednesday. Okay? So make sure those are wrapped up. Those are the Charlie Harpers, and get those turned in as well.